let's talk about Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon's a new Zack Snyder movie that just came out. I want to say like Thursday at 10 p.m. Why 10 p.m.? I have no idea. Probably should have been like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. so people could actually have more time to actually talk about it. But even if we were talking about it, at least for me personally, I wasn't going to be speaking highly of it. So this movie is honestly pretty bad. And I know that it's not the Snyder cut, which is something else that was really pissing me off about the entire thing. If you guys hadn't read, basically what Netflix did was they cut down Zack Snyder's movie into a lower or a shorter version of it. And honestly, it almost feels like they cut it into a more PG/PG-13 version of it because a lot of the violence and a lot of the themes that you would expect in a Zack Snyder movie just wasn't here at all. So if you'll see someone get stabbed, or you'll see someone like get their head blown off, or something like that, or you'll suspect that that's what's supposed to happen, and it just cuts away, doesn't show any blood or anything like that. And I'm not a bloodthirsty dude. I don't think it needs to be there. But when you have, it's like watching a Quentin Tarantino movie and there's no blood involved. It would be weird. It's like, wait, did somebody do something to his movie? And that's exactly how like watching this movie felt. But that's not even the chief problem with this movie. The chief problem with this movie is that it's boring. Like, despite all of the visual aesthetics, which were beautiful at times, and despite like some of the really good actors that we have, watched and known for a while now, the movie offered nothing. Like there was nothing here of substance. And I saw like a sneak peek of a review earlier and stuff like that. And typically I stay away from reviews, but I did see the Rotten Tomato score, which doesn't necessarily influence how I feel about a film, because a lot of people don't understand that Rotten Tomato scores are not a grade for the film. It's the percentage of people who have watched it who recommend the film, right? So if 100 people have watched it and only 20 people recommend it, it gets a 20% Rotten Tomato score. It doesn't tell you that I think that this movie is a 20 out of 100 movie. It says I either recommend it or I don't. And that's what a Rotten Tomato score is, right? So in an audience score, it's the same, except for the audience is saying maybe like 77% of people, which was what Rebel Moon had. But there's a long discussion about that because those reviews, those viewer or yeah, those fan reviews, viewer reviews, I forget what they call it. No, I just said it. Those were, a lot of them were unverified. And the problem that a lot of the streaming services had, that the movie review or the movie theaters don't have, or if you go buy a ticket, is that you can't verify who has seen a movie that drops on streaming and who hasn't, unlike you can someone who has a movie theater ticket, right? So you had a whole bunch of reviews of people say it's the greatest movie in the world, and it was like you could not have possibly seen it unless you went to one of those screenings. But it had over 1,000 reviews before it even got to that point. So I know for a fact that thousands of people have not seen this movie before. Anyway, so I'm getting I'm getting away from it. Oh, also, that doesn't just work into the people who are positively like talking about the movie. That also works with people who have negatively talked about the movie who also haven't seen it. So it's not like a lopsided thing. There are people from both sides who either hate Zack Snyder or love Zack Snyder, and they're both fighting for some type of relevancy, I guess. But anyway, back to the movie in and of itself. The movie is slow, which is not a problem if it's a slow burn. But the problems with a slow burn like this is it's a slow burn with nothing to offer, right? So let's talk about I forget what exactly it's the seven, right? It's I forget the exact term, but it's like gosh, why am I forgetting what it's called? Anyway, so basically you have this group of disparate people who are coming together for one cause, right? So the issue that I had with that portion of the movie is that it took an hour and 40 minutes to get this entire team together. And then there was about 50 minutes left of the movie. And by that time, there was still no relationship between any of these people. They all met over the course of this first hour and a half of a 2 hour and 15 movie, but none of them either have a actual relationship with each other. So if any death any like circumstance happens, you don't feel it, because also as the audience, we don't know these people that well, because the only time that we're actually told about them is through some kind of exposition that reads off like a bio in a Mortal Kombat like book or something like that. So if you're reading like Liu Kang, the Dragon of the West, I don't know why I said that, but that's not okay. Dragon of the West, Shaolin monk, dude who throws fireballs and so on and so forth. Like it's like that was the height of the exposition of these different characters. But even in that, we don't really get to know them as people. We get to know their resume. And even after we know their resume, it doesn't show up as relevant to the movie. So that was my one of my biggest issues with this movie, is that the characters, I don't care about these people because you haven't given me a reason to care about these people. And not only that, you've introduced all these people together as a team, but they're just they they don't even talk to each other really in this movie. Not in any way that's like uh not in any way that's uh what that matters, right? Not in it. So I don't want to. I'm not going to compare it to any other superhero movies, but you'll see other team up movies where throughout the course of the movie, there's little bits where they're developing relationships that are like intricate, and they get to know each other, and they even challenge each other. And through some of that challenge, some of the dynamics of their relationship kind of form, and through conflict, these people are band together. There's none of that here. So yes, is it visually appealing? Sure. Is it like are there good performers in this movie? Yes. But at the end of the day, this movie is a big nothing burger to me. And like I said, like I mentioned in the very beginning, there is a Snyder cut out there somewhere that Netflix did. Also, I'm not blaming Zack Snyder for that weird cut down version of it, because even in the article that I read, which I believe was in Forbes, even in that article, he expressed like, yeah, I've never seen this done before, this is weird. And it's not the same situation as the Justice League situation where his daughter got sick, or his daughter, I believe, passed away, as a matter of fact, and he had to step away. And then someone else took over his movie. He comes back to finish his movie. That's not the same as, I have a finished movie for you guys, Netflix. Please put it out. And they're like, no, we're going to cut it out and try to make some kind of artificial release of Snyder cut kind of wave, right? So in terms of this particular movie, I don't care. Like after watching the movie, I don't care. But in terms of like Zack Snyder, he himself, I don't think he's a bad director, and he's also not my favorite director. I'm not going to bash Snyder because he's made some things I really have liked. Sue me, but I'm a Man of Steel fan, and also I'm a fan of 300. Also, I really liked Army of Darkness. I liked those three films. His other films, BVS and Justice League, even his extended version, I don't like. I don't enjoy those movies. But I am not of the mindset that if you make some good things and then make some bad things, then that makes you a bad director. It just means I didn't like that project. I have a director who's one of my favorite directors, like Taika Waititi, who made Thor Ragnarok, of course, but also Hunt for the Wilder People. And boy, like he's made some great, great films. But he also made Thor Love and Thunder and Next Goal Wins, two movies I do not like at all. Like at all, at all. But do I think that means it's the end for Taika Waititi making good movies? No, I think people are tripping when they go this either yes or no mindset when it comes to artists, because even your favorite artist has released something not as good, right? So, yeah. So that is essentially my thoughts on Rebel Moon. Some decent action, some decent ideas, but ultimately it just felt like a smorgasbord of aesthetics with little to no real story to care about. Let's get into some of your comments. Have you seen this? What T says? Rebel Moon is a movie that was made and it exists. That is a great way to put it, because often with movies like this, where it's like it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's also not good. I always say like, it's a movie. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It exists, right? I felt that way about so many movies. Which, this whole classic or trash thing, something's either the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. I don't subscribe to that either. So this movie is just kind of the most, like, the kids these days, they say mid. This movie's mid, midration, right? Yeah. Have you seen this? What T says? There is a lot of. Oh my god, I forgot about that. So the slow motion was annoying because it was unnecessary, right? There were times where someone would, like, drop a bag of rice, or someone would, like, be swinging at someone with a sword, and it just felt like it was so overused. Like, for moments that I felt like, now I'll talk about this in Aquaman. For moments I felt like if you sped that action up, it would have looked cool. But because you slowed it down, seemingly for no reason, just 5 minutes after you slowed something else down, like, why are you slowing this down? Like, keep this movie is already 2 hours and 15 minutes. We don't have to slow it down any more than it already is, right? So yeah, a lot of slow motion. I just thought that was completely unnecessary. Let's go to Dark. I hate that Zack gets this treatment all the time. Yeah, it's weird because the studio, Netflix, are the ones putting him in this position, and also WB put him in that position in terms of, like, letting the Snyder Cut thing go as long as it did. Number one, and not just waiting for him to come back to finish his project, and two, like the Barbie movie, which is a movie a lot of people enjoy. I have no thoughts about that. But there's a Snyder joke about, like, release a Snyder cut joke in the WB film, which Zack Attacks let me know that they actually invited him to the screening, while they have a joke about Zack Snyder in the movie, like the Snyder cut. And I was like, dog, could you be any more classless? Like, that doesn't have to be done. Uh, yeah, Sofia Boutella is fantastic, but everything else is met. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you, T. I thought she was met as well because her character didn't make me want to follow her. Like, there was nothing about her character that was like, yeah, I want to know more about this character. Everything was so slow and just like, and not slow because there are slow movies that I love, like I said before, but slow in terms of, like, I, you're not giving me a reason to hook on to this character. And yeah, so I like a lot of these performers. They just didn't do anything for me. Still need to. Dark says still need to see this movie though. I have not gotten a chance yet, but heard so much about that movie. Yeah, I would encourage you to see for yourself. Right, go check it out for yourself. If you do enjoy the movie, that's amazing. Anyone who does enjoy Rebel Moon, please continue to enjoy it. Don't let people like me who didn't enjoy it tell you how to feel. Go see it for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the authority on the movies. I'm not. I'm just a guy who likes movies and eventually likes to talk about them. So I'm not the authority. Have fun.